Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Creative Walks. And tonight, it's already 10 p.m. here in Kyiv. And I wanted to talk about this concept I've been thinking about all day, which is this idea of art as a call to adventure. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're familiar with the work of Joseph Campbell and the idea of the hero's journey, you will know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, I'm actually very excited to be the one to introduce this idea to you because Campbell's work is so fascinating. He really created a very, very useful framework to think about stories and about art. One that applies to the oldest stories in the world, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, all the way to Star Wars and most modern storytelling. Basically, he observed that the stories that resist the test of time, those that are present all across the globe in folklore and mythology, religion, and most of popular culture, they all seem to follow a structure, something that he called the monomyth, or the hero's journey. He thought that this structure was universal, and it talked about human nature in multiple levels, from daily struggles to our deep transformations in our lives and in our society. In his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, he identified this arc of 17 steps in the hero's journey. But the basic idea can be found in this quote, and I'll read it to you because I don't remember it by heart. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and the decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow men. Well, this passage basically talks about these three main acts in a hero's journey, which incidentally is also used as the main acts in most movies today, which is the departure from what is known, and initiation into this new world, and an eventual return with a treasure or with newfound wisdom. So, every story begins with the hero, the main character, in what Campbell calls the ordinary world. It's a place he knows well, but usually he or she is unfulfilled. There is something wrong or something missing, and suddenly the hero is presented with an opportunity. A new thing enters into his world. And that is the first step in the hero's journey, according to Campbell, the call to adventure, which is what I want to talk to you about today. So sorry for this long preamble, but it's important to know what the call to adventure means so we can start to think about the concept and talk about it in relationship to art and maybe most importantly about the process of making art. Also, when you understand Campbell's work, you can't help but see it everywhere. And I highly encourage you to go take a look at his books and his public talks. There are hours and hours and hours of his lectures, which are available for free on the internet. Anyway, I was thinking about this today because I was reminded of a photo, one that I created about 6 years ago. Actually very important to me, but to be honest, I haven't given much conscious or focused thought about it in a while. But today I did. This photo was actually my first collaboration with my wife, dancer Jana Komarnicka. Back then, I was going through some big changes in my life. I was totally in a sense, in the ordinary world, and dreaming of becoming a fine art and advertising photographer, something I was very far from. But I started creating a new portfolio. I had no idea what I wanted to do, at least a very unsophisticated idea what I came to understand today. And of course, I'm still working on it. But I remember seeing on Facebook, actually, a photo she had posted. And I thought it would be cool to work with her. And we spent the whole day creating the set. and talking about concepts and aesthetics. And that collaboration led to other collaborations and long conversations into the night. And a few short months afterwards, we were together. Now, Jan is my wife, and we work together on artworks every day. And it all started with that photo. I think it's safe to say that that photo, that project, answering that particular call to adventure literally changed my life. And this photo, actually, you can check it out on the show notes for this episode, pedrobonatto.com/creativewalks. Also served as a call to adventure in multiple levels, in multiple contexts, because it directly, now that I think about it, influenced me to start this whole new series called The Orientalist, which you can also check out on my website. But the aesthetics were already on this photo, like the side lighting that looked like light coming from a window from the side. The other element in terms of a call to adventure, of putting that work out there, was that we were shortly after we put it out there on social media, we were asked to have permission to put that photo in the cover of a book. The book is called The Belly Dance Reader #2. It was edited by Lynette Harris from a company called Gilded Serpent. And seeing my work for the first time in the cover of a book actually inspired me to try to create other photographs that could be used as book covers. This is something that I actually had forgotten about, but now that I think of it, it's something that I want to pursue again. It's a new call to adventure coming from that photo. Another thing that occurred to me today when I was thinking about all this, and it was hard to organize these thoughts, so forgive me if it's a little bit all over the place, is that the hero's journey is actually not linear. We all live in many stages of the hero's journey all at the same time. For example, I think you actually go through the whole cycle of the hero's journey, the 3 acts, in every artwork you decide to create. You find the idea, you master new skills to create it, you inevitably run into walls that seem impossible to break, and when you actually finish and show your work, you find yourself at the end of the journey, returning home, so to speak, where you and your world are inevitably transformed. When you consider the audience, the people that will see what you created, the one constant that every artwork has when it's actually out in the world is that that work can serve as a call to adventure to your audience as well as to yourself. And the funny thing is that in most cases, you will not see the direct impact of your artwork in other people's lives. Neil Gaiman actually had a lovely idea about this. He said that artworks are like messages in a bottle, messages that you send out in the hopes that someone one day will find it. And sometimes that takes a long time. For example, I recently saw a photo of an ancient bracelet, one that has been buried for thousands of years. And by thousands of years, I mean like 30,000 years. And it was rediscovered in a cave in Russia and has been not seen for all this time. That bracelet has such an impact on me that it is actually going to inspire a whole new series that I want to create. But no one saw it for so long. But anyway, that's a story for another day. What I wanted to mention about this bracelet is that it got me thinking that we as beginning artists have so much anxiety about seeing the results of our work right away. Sometimes it manifests itself in likes or some sort of appreciation, sometimes in money, sometimes in requests for more work. And that causes all forms of frustrations. And I speak that with knowledge of the cause because I go through that every day. And often it even prevents us from showing our works. It's like we desperately want to be heard and understood, and at the same time, we are terrified of only hearing silence echoed back. And on this Orientalist vibe, I also thought that the artist is in a way like Scheherazade in the Arabian Nights, telling stories deep into the night, hoping those stories are compelling enough, interesting enough, so that she can survive until the morning. And those mind games that artists play are actually represented in the hero's journey. It's the actual next step after the call to adventure, which is called the refusal of the call. It's when the hero, after being presented with this adventure, with this opportunity, gets like cold feet and thinks he can't go through with it for insert your reason in this case. And that got me thinking of, why do we resist the call to adventure? And I think ultimately it is a fear of the unknown, fear of finding out we are not who we think we are, or even worse, finding out that we cannot be what we want to become. But this episode is getting a bit long, so let me finish off with this. Think of artworks as calls to adventure. Practically, if you are drawn to a particular artwork, it can be a photograph, a song, a scene, whatever it is, think of what action can come as an inspiration from this artwork. And if you're thinking about putting a new work of art out there in the world, I urge you to do it. Because that work will be a call to adventure to someone someday. Maybe soon, maybe in 1,000 years, but you can never know what the randomness of fate will bring when you take that leap of faith and send that message in a bottle into the vast ocean, knowing that it may find a shore or a ship one day. Also, another thought for artists: when you put your artwork out there into the world, it's like you're suddenly put into this stream of time. It's like your present self is leaving gifts to your future selves and the future selves of others. So with that, this has been Creative Walks. My name is Pedro Bonatto, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Oh, and I almost forgot, speaking of gifts, I mentioned this on the last episode, but I want to send listeners to this show my own version of a message in a bottle. It will be in the form of a postcard with one of my photographs, and it will be signed with a personalized message celebrating you guys hearing this new accidental project. So you can go to pedrobonato.com/gift or check out the show notes for this, and I would love to hear from you. Okay, now I'm gone.